My lifelong friend didn't invite me to her wedding, and it's completely unraveled our friendship. One of my work colleagues is a lifelong friend of mine. We lived on the same street growing up, went to the same school, and when I needed a job after graduating university, she made me aware of an opening at the company she worked at. I applied, got the job, and it's been quite a few years since and we still work together. It's a pretty small company, and quite male-dominated, so after we started working together, we became really close. We take all our lunches together, we regularly stop by each other's desks for a chat, and we quickly became known around the office as inseparable. A year ago she got engaged to her long-term partner, and I was ecstatic for her. She had a really tough time a couple of years ago with 2 family deaths close together, and I did everything I could to be a good friend to her while she was in the worst stages of grieving. She cried with me daily for weeks, and I made sure she knew I was always available to listen. I also took about a third of her workload off her voluntarily, so she could take days off when she needed to without stressing about her work building up. So now that life has gotten better for her and she's always smiling and excited, it's really nice to see. Ever since she got engaged, as expected, she's talked a lot about wedding plans, especially at our lunches. I know basically every detail. When she booked her venue, she was really excited, but she refused to tell me where it was going to be, saying that she wanted it to be a surprise when the invitations came out. The wedding is 2 weeks away now, and I've long since stopped waiting for my invitation to show up. I know when they were sent because she told me all about delivering them, and showed me every day the gifts people have started to buy off their registry. I feel silly for saying it, but the more I think about it, the more hurt I feel that I haven't been included. It's a big wedding, and she has invited some other people from work that I didn't know she even knew. She hasn't mentioned the reason why I'm not invited, and at this point, I feel too awkward to ask. I guess it's just a slap in the face because I really thought we were close, and now I'm realizing that maybe we're not. She was a bridesmaid at my wedding too. The trouble is, since all this I've started to really examine our friendship, and I'm wondering if she even cares about me at all. I can think of 100 examples of where I've helped her work through decisions, listened to her vent, stood up for her when she's had issues with colleagues. Even tons of little things, like if anyone brings in cake and she's out of the office, I always save her a slice so she doesn't miss out. But I can't remember a time that she did anything for me in return. Now when she talks to me, I've realized she doesn't even listen to me. When I'm finished talking, she just carries on with what she was saying before, almost as if I'd never spoken at all. If we're ever talking about me or something I've been doing, she never has anything to say. She just kind of nods and then switches the conversation back to herself. I'm starting to think she couldn't care less about me. She just likes having someone around who she can talk at, and whoever that person is doesn't really matter to her. I've invested so many years into this friendship, it's really cut me deep. I feel used. It's also made being at work incredibly lonely, because she was my only friend. I've stopped having lunch with her, and any time she tries to chat I politely bring the conversation to a quick end and go back to work. She doesn't appear to have even noticed. I do still wish her well. I'm still glad for her that life has turned around and she's so happy, but I'm a bit lost. I'm not sure if I'm being too harsh because I'm hurt, or if I even have the right to feel hurt in the first place, as I know weddings have a finite number of guests and you have to leave people out that you would invite in an ideal world. But I'm not sure there's any way back from this either. Has anyone else had a similar experience? Am I being unreasonable or overdramatic? Should I confront her? Should I just let the dust settle and see how I feel then? So I'm definitely not invited. Our friendship is over and I'm going to work on my assertiveness so I can handle things like this better next time. I'm also going to move forward, having learned a good lesson about friendships being two-way. It took me a few days to decide the best way to approach this, but yesterday I had lunch with her again and had the conversation. I started by saying, "So you've sent all your invitations out now, haven't you?" She looked immediately panicked by my question, and I knew right away that she didn't want me to go down this road. When she said she had sent them all, I asked if that meant she could show me her venue now. She showed me its website of it, including the photo gallery, and talked me through all about where everything was going to happen, all the flowers and decorations she was going to add. It's a nice enough country hotel with some pretty gardens, but I'm not sure what all the secrecy was for. I probed a little more, asking who she's invited from work. She gave me a list and it didn't include me. I said I was looking forward to seeing the photos so I could see how everything looked, but she didn't correct me that I would see it on the day. She just stared at me. I was completely sure that my lack of invitation wasn't an accident. She looked so relieved when I switched subjects and asked if she was excited about her honeymoon and having a rest from all the wedding stress. So I'm definitely not invited. I thought it over carefully, and I have decided not to ask why, for 3 reasons. The reason is already fairly obvious. She clearly doesn't think we're anything more than colleagues, and I've misread the situation. I'm not sure why she didn't cool it on the wedding talk with someone she had no intention of inviting, or even just bring it up with me and explain why I'm not invited, but never mind. Having an awkward relationship at work is the last thing I want. I'm worried that if I push this and turn it into an issue, I'll look pathetic and needy, or it will just be unprofessional. I also run the risk of her bad-mouthing me to colleagues and mutual friends, and I will find it much easier and less messy to handle my own feelings quietly. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for her, and I don't want to be the source of drama that dampens her spirits at all. I'd rather just let her enjoy her wedding, make good memories and not bring her down. And you know, I'm fine with not going. It was never really about getting invited to a wedding. It was more having to face the fact that I'd been naive and taken for granted, and I felt silly that I'd invested way too much in this relationship. That's not all on her, because she was never obligated to be my friend. I have looked back on our whole relationship and honestly, she's always been self-involved, entitled and narcissistic. Being a bride has just made it more obvious, but it's always been there. She's also never given back to me, besides helping me get my job, which of course, I'm grateful for, but she's never been willing to talk me through any problems I've had, and although I help her happily with her work, she says no if I ask her for help in return. She has a few office enemies, and even though I saw the negative traits that caused her to be disliked by some people, I overlooked them and defended her anyway. Now I have put a little distance there. It's quite apparent that she's not a very nice person, and I'm genuinely okay with just moving on. She hasn't really noticed the distance between us so far, so I intend to just continue with doing that. If she eventually asks why, or I get the sense that she's trying to rekindle our friendship, then it will be time to clear the air about how I've been feeling. If she doesn't, and we just continue drifting, then that's probably for the best. It's sad to lose a friend, and it will probably take me some time to get over it and to become comfortable with the change in our relationship, but I have other genuine friendships, and plenty of colleagues who are lovely people who I can get to know better now.